It's another beautiful afternoon in Benin City. Welcome to AIT, and you are on to your popular program, The Focal Point. You will remember last week we decided to begin our journey into the 2016. It's a year special to Edo State, for that matter. And last week we looked into your views of the kind of person you think should occupy the Dennis Osadebe Avenue. You will remember also that the comrade governor's tenure will be winding up. A new administration will soon come on board. The parties are talking, they are politicking, and they are trying to do their things the way they know best. We assured you on this program that we will do our best to make sure that we present a level platform where we inform you on the happenings in the political arena ahead of 2016. All right, my name is Ade Legon Aladeneka, your anchorman on the Focal Point today. Today, we are setting the stage to begin to look at personalities that may likely play a role in the 2016. I have with me in the studio a one-time secretary to the state government, a one-time chief of staff to the governor, a lawyer, and a pastor. Pastor Osagi Ize-Iyamu. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm okay. Thanks a lot.
How is the family front?
We thank God. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, let's just start from the lower basis. Who is Pastor Osagi Ize-Iyamu?
I think you said it all. You have mentioned that I was a secretary to government, a chief of staff. You've mentioned that I'm a lawyer by training, I'm a pastor. Maybe what you forgot to mention is that I'm a farmer, okay, and I'm happily married with 4 kids. I grew up in this city. I've always been here. I like to refer to myself as a very local person. You know. So basically, I think you've done the introduction, and I think though people know me, I'm not a stranger, and I'm pleased to be in your midst this afternoon.
All right, all right. Naturally, democracy is the government of the people, run by the people in the interest of the people. And by all standard and reckoning, this is what globally democracy tends to be. Edo State is looking and going towards a periodic election that characterizes democracy. What is it that Edo people wanted in a democracy, government of their own in the state? What do you think they wanted?
You know, if you want to truly summarize, in my own opinion, what people want from government, you could mention 3 basic things.
Okay.
The first, in my opinion, is security.
Okay.
People expect government to provide security over lives and property.
Okay.
You want to live in an environment where you feel safe. So security is key to good governance. Then development. There are a lot of things that you cannot do on a personal note.
Okay.
So you expect government that's entrusted with the commonwealth of your state to handle those things. So development is also key to governance. And the third issue, which I also think is very important, is empowerment. I believe that it's a duty of government to empower people. If you want taxes, the people have to be empowered. If you want development, the people have to be empowered. And I've said it in some fora that when you develop a place and you don't empower the local people, then you have developed a place for strangers to take over, because the local people will not be able to compete. So government must take deliberate steps to empower local people. If you go to a place like Dubai, you will find out that as the government is developing that land, there is a conscious effort to develop the local people so that they are able to enjoy the development in the land. So those three things are key. Of course, there are other things that fall under, but the issue of security, the issue of development, the issue of empowerment, they are key to good governance.
So, if these are key to good governance, to what extent have the people of Edo State enjoyed this?
Honestly, the past 7 years have been a monumental disappointment.
How do you mean?
People feel betrayed, they are disillusioned, they have been traumatized by the betrayal that they got from this government. Why do I say so? The kind of money that this government has received in the past 7 years is unprecedented in the history of our state. This government has received over 1 trillion. And yet, this same government has put us in a very terrible state of indebtedness. Then when you want to look at what have they achieved in terms of security, for example, I know a lot of people and companies that have had to leave this town in the past 7 years. In the budget of the state year in, year out, you budget over 500 million for security vote. What has that translated to? How much does the police get? How much do our local vigilantes get? This is the only state in the south where the police do not even have a tracking system to be able to deal with the menace of kidnapping. So in terms of security, Edo State has not fared well. People molest you here and there. You buy land, and you have to pay all kinds of touts. You are left at the mercy of thugs and miscreants, and there's nobody to help you. You know, Agberos are all over the place. Our market women are paying all kinds of levies, some by government, some by unknown persons, and nobody does anything about it. So in terms of security, we've not done well. In terms of development, again, there are so many areas where the government practically did nothing. Industries, agriculture, sports, tourism, so many areas. And then, of course, by the time you go to empowerment, that's even the most ridiculous, because this is a government that came on the strength that they intended to make poverty history in Edo State. But poverty has become entrenched. Poverty is everywhere. There are no jobs. There is no patronage. There's capital flight. Jobs that should have been done by local people are being given to outsiders. So when you look at these indices, what you find is a very terrible picture. Government has been on holiday. Just to be polite, government has not done well.
Honestly, those of you who are politicians, in number are fewer than those of us who are not. And periodically like this, politicians come around to tell us what they intend to do and what have you. Hope what we are trying to analyze to us is not a political thing.
What I'm saying is something that I believe is obvious. I do not believe that because one is in politics, one would need to lie about what is obvious. You live in this state, you are from this state. So the question is, if we want to start from the area of empowerment, are there jobs? How many people has this government employed in the civil service? How many teachers have they employed? How many medical personnel? So the system is horrible, you know? So what kind of empowerment are we talking about? And then you want to look at development. I have mentioned areas where there's been no intervention. And if you want to look at areas that the government tries to talk about as areas where they have done well, Let's take, for example, roads. Yes, they have attempted to do something, but at what cost? To be able to appreciate a project, the cost must be put by it. It is the cost that will make me appreciate how well you have done. If a man tells me that he built a house for 10 billion, then I'll be looking for something that is extraordinary. If a man also tells me he built a house for 5 million, I also know what I'll be looking for. So, cost is important. And this is one government that falls short of transparency. The cost of projects are never known. So how can I appreciate a project where the cost is not known? And in any event, even look at the failure rate of some of these roads. Look at the failure rate. The roads are already falling apart. The last rainy season here was a disaster. It was impossible. I mean, it was difficult to pass a lot of our roads. And if you want to talk about school, is it University of Benin? Is it Ekiadolo? Is it the College of Agriculture? Even the secondary schools has not fared well. I went recently to my old school, Edo College, and what I saw there is the renovation we did last when I had the opportunity to chairman the committee that did the rehabilitation. I've not seen any added improvement by the state government. And the state governor, not too long ago, was trying to reward some students who did quite well and said that they will be sent to Edo College, which is the best secondary school in the state. I was happy at the statement, having gone to that school. But when I went there to see if perhaps some new things have been added, there was nothing. So when we are talking, we're not talking because we just want to condemn. We are talking on the basis of what is on ground, verifiable.
All right, all right. 2016 is the year of election in Edo State. Last week, our callers told us specifically in clear terms the quality of persons that they want to lead as governor in the state. We know you are a politician, but as an Edo person, what manner of person, what quality of person do you think should be saddled with the responsibility of leading the state?
Well, I think that considering the experience of Edo people in the past 7 years, the resolve by many of them is that never again will they vote for somebody they don't know too well. Because they have learned that all that glitter is not gold. And you cannot judge a book by its cover. So our people are going to be looking for those they know. They know where they are coming from. They went to school with them. They know their antecedents. They are looking for those they can relate to, not those who talk down on them. Those they can trust. They are looking for a friendly governor, not a governor that hates them, in quote. So Edo people will be looking for an honest, God-fearing, sincere, accessible governor. These are not qualities that are too difficult to find. Our people are not too demanding, but they have been taken for a ride in the past 7 years. And what they want this time is somebody that will be accountable, somebody they can trust, somebody that would honestly, prudently manage their resources, not somebody that says one thing and do another.
You have been in and out of government. What makes you feel that these qualities you have extolled, that you match into it, that will make the people to want to say, okay, let's test him, let us send him on this errand? Do you,
Well,
do you fit in into this things you have said?
The truth about it is that I've always lived here. I know my people know me. I'm passionate about this place. My house or my office is an open door. People don't need appointments to be able to see me. They come and they talk to me. By the grace of God, I value relationship and I fear God. With all due modesty, I'm a very honest person. With all due modesty. I've had the opportunity of being in government. Of course, there was opportunity to completely enrich myself. But I tell people that my joy is that I came out of government unscratched. People can make bogus allegations, but nobody can really say Pastor Ize-Iyamu is a thief. They can't say so in spite of my visibility in public life, in spite of the way I've come out publicly, to play politics. So people know that I'm somebody that can be trusted. I'm somebody that is prudent. I'm somebody that is focused. What we also lack is that it appears that this government, they have no vision, they have no direction. We need somebody that has a focus, an idea of what should be done, not somebody grappling in the dark. Because some of us have lived here and because of our experience in government, we have a clear idea about how things should be done. I'll tell you the truth. A lot of the projects that have been done by this government were completely unnecessary. Apart from the huge costs, which could have been used to do similar projects, 10, 15, and being used for one, their sense of priority is wrong. Government should have a clear sense of priority. And in any event, even when you have what you call your own priority, it should not get to the level where other sectors are abandoned completely. For example, as a farmer, the way this government has abandoned agriculture is shocking. How can a state like Edo, that has so much potentials in agriculture, and the governor will just, or the government will just turn a blind eye and say, that is not their priority. What exactly is their priority? So, for me, I believe that I'm in tune with my people. And if the opportunity presents itself, certainly, I'm going to offer myself for service. Or just waiting for INEC to bring out the timetable. And then those who are interested will come out.
You are a farmer, as you have rightly said. If you have an opportunity to present the paper before the government, what do you think the government should do to improve agriculture in the state?
You see, number one, this government has no policy for agriculture at all. Edo State was faring very well in agriculture. In my time in government, we were number one in cassava. We became number two in cocoa production. But today, we are down the ladder. Nothing is happening. Because the government has not shown any interest in agriculture. There has to be interest. We have to support the small farmers. They are all over the state. We must give them all the support. Find out what their problems are. If they need improved seedlings, you give it to them. If they need tractors, you give it to them. If they are part of their land and need some irrigation, you help them do it. And of course, you use your contacts to see how you can attract cheaper funds for them. You don't expect them to go to commercial banks. And even the central bank that has a lot of funds for agriculture, the bureaucracy is sometimes too much. for our small-time farmers. So government must act as a go-between to help them access all these funds. And of course, there are international agencies. When we were in government, we were very quick to pay our counterpart funding. Now, because of that, we were able to attract a lot of international support and grants to support our agriculture. But they don't even pay counterpart funding anymore. And of course, when there is no interest, who is going to come? So government has to refocus. I think that because of the kind of revenue they were getting in the past 7 years, which was very high, the thought about looking for other sources of revenue did not even arise. And when things started going down, all they could think about was taxes. You know, no attempt was made to think outside the box. And of course, some of the solutions were staring at them in the face. Agriculture. If you go to a place like the former Leventis farm in Amkenebude, you'll be amazed at the facilities abandoned. That place, if it can be brought back to life, has the potential of supplying the rice demand of this country. Can you imagine the amount that will accrue to Edo State if we could partner with international agencies to bring that place back to life? So government has to show an interest. Once the interest is there, the revival has started. Provide land. When we're in government, Presco and Okomo oil palm plantation, they became the biggest. That is when they went to the stock market, because we did everything to support them. When they wanted land, we were there. When they wanted government support, we were there. When they had communal crisis, we were there to support them. So they were very comfortable knowing that they had the full backing of a state government. But if we were not interested, they would never have done the kind of expansion and investment that they did in this state. So government must show interest and begin to actively support farmers, and then you will see an agricultural boom in the state.
All right, let us leave agriculture now and maybe look at youth empowerment. There is a high level of youth unemployment in Nigeria. Edo State has had its own fair share of this. Is there anything wrong with our national policy as well as policy within our state? What do you think should be done to broaden the scope of our youth vis-a-vis engaging them for productivity?
I think that our government here has neglected our youth.
How do you mean?
When the governor was coming in, he knew that unemployment was an issue. And so he came up with the slogan, bye-bye to poverty. He employed people under a year scheme. And rather than look for how to create substantive jobs for them, he put them there as casual workers. And after 5 years, he disengaged them without any thought about their future. That to me is callous. There are vacancies in the system. If there was no vacancy, one would even say, well, does it really make sense to overbloat the workforce? There are no teachers. The number of science teachers in Edo State, you can count them on your fingertips. There are no teachers. A lot of the schools in the rural areas is one school, one teacher. If that teacher is an history teacher, how are the students going to survive? How will they learn English? How will they learn physics? So their parents have to resort to self-help. At a time when the parents don't even have money, they have to go and look for money to more or less hire or rent a youth corper or somebody out there to come and teach. In the civil service, a lot of people have retired. Today, if you do an audit of the workforce in the state civil service, the number is less than 1,500. In a state where you have a very high level of unemployment, and in a state where you have abundance of graduates, nobody is employing them. But even beyond government employing people, have you created the enabling environment that would allow the private sector to absorb these people? A government that is notorious for using outsiders to do everything. You want to do contracts, you look for people outside. Even something as basic as catering. You want to eat pounded yam and eat rice in government function. You go to Lagos and go and pay a company to bring cooks and pots and maybe firewood to come and cook for you in government house. If you don't patronize local businesses, how are they going to employ anybody? In fact, they will retrench. The little that they have, they will sack them. And the money that has even come in for small and medium industries, enterprises, what has happened to them? The back of industry, some time ago they came and they released millions to support small businesses. That money was channeled through the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Industry. What happened to the money? Rather than look for genuine businessmen and women who would have been able to use that money to stimulate our economy and employ people, the money was given to political supporters. And when the time of repayment came, nobody paid. I read in the papers that they said they're going to constitute a task force to see how they could recover the money. They have not done so, but the money has to be paid. So I believe that that is part of the deductions going on right now. That money must be paid back to the Bank of Industry. Another opportunity down the drain to empower our youths. 2 billion has also come again from the central bank. Rather than setting up a template through which our youths who can truly be empowered, our youths who are enterprising, can be identified. Instead of doing that again, they are collating names of those who will support their preferred political gubernatorial aspirants, so that money can be given to them. So that money again is down the drain. So it is clear that we have a government that has no policy or plan to empower our youths. So this is one of the few states where on a working day, almost every youth you see has no working address. If you ask them, can I meet you in your office? The man will tell you which office. And that is why you see graduates now joining people in the park or in the market to become touts, to say they want to collect revenue. The situation is pathetic.
All right. The situation is pathetic, but there's remedy.
By the grace of God.
You were talking about youth employment and job creation. You were in government, Chief of Staff, Secretary to the State Government. How many industries will create that time?
Good question.
Now that you are saying government did not do, government did not work, how many industries did you create?
You know, people vilify Lucky Benedion so much without appreciating some of the things he did.
Like what?
Let me begin to give you so many examples. Industry, one of the ones I will mention first to you is the fertilizer plant, chemical plant in Ikpeshi, Akoko Edo. He established it from the beginning to commissioning and privatized it, and that place is functioning. That's just one. Number two.
Sorry, excuse me. Functioning, you said?
Yes, it's functioning. At Ikpeshi. Yes, it's privatized. Okay. It's a private. You see, the whole essence of what he was doing was not necessarily to create industries for government to handle. There's no doubt that, you know, when government is handling a business, they tend to be a bit lackadaisical about it. They tend to be a bit casual about it. But you cannot say because government cannot handle industries, you will allow your state to be without industry. You have, you know, a duty, a right, a compulsion to ensure that industries exist. So even if nobody is building industries, you must strive to do it. And then bring in private investors who can help manage it. New Nigeria Bank had been taken away before Lucky Benedion came in. Between himself and the governor of Delta, they were able to wrestle it back to the states. And that is what is today Unity Bank.
Okay.
What they are looking at now, they are calling the CTS and called comrade buses. It was Lucky Benedion who introduced it. You remember, he went to Brazil and brought buses. So those buses you see was introduced by him. Even this issue of school children entering the bus, it's not something new. He introduced it. People have forgotten. He also created courier service. Even the airport was closed because of lack of patronage. He reopened the airport. He started the flight from Benin to Abuja by getting government to subsidize 50% the cost of going to Abuja to encourage airlines to fly that route. And by the time they found out that it was a lucrative route, they went into it. He encouraged banks to come to Edo by insisting to them that they cannot hold Edo State government funds if they don't have a branch here. Before he came in, there were just the only 4 banks that were here. First Bank, Union Bank, UBA, and AfriBank. It was his intervention. I think the first one that came must have been Standard Trust Bank. That was the first. Then others started coming in. So he created a business environment. And when you are talking about empowerment and jobs, he employed so many teachers. He rationalized in 2000, which to me was a mistake. Because of the poor funds that were coming in 1999,
Okay.
he thought that, the best thing to do was, let us retrench. It was a mistake. But the good thing about it is that he later brought in people into the system. A man can make a mistake and say, okay, these people are retrenched before their terminal date. But at least let me inject some people into the system. So doctors, engineers, lawyers, teachers were brought into the system. And he stimulated the environment, encouraged businesses to come here. And they were coming. I remember when Mr. Biggs was coming here, you'll be surprised that when we came in, we didn't even have a Mr. Biggs here. People were saying the Beninese don't like fast food. All they want is food is ready. Pounded yam and the rest of them. We had to convince them to come. Because of course, you are going to build a city, you must also have a variety of food and all kinds of modern eating houses. When they came to patronize them deliberately, we were patronizing them. Food for entertainment, we'll go and buy things there just to boost their revenue and to make them know they were at the right place. This was a deliberate effort by government to make people come to Edo and invest. That is what is missing in this arrangement. You have a government that does not care about patronizing the locals or their businesses, and yet you are increasing taxes. How would they pay with their blood? When you patronize them, you increase their profits. You make their business sustainable. But when you don't invest them, when you don't patronize them, who will patronize them? So the difference then and now is very sharp. And of course, there are industries that were almost on the verge of completion. And it is sad that they were left alone. Look at the Casavita factory in Urome. because of our leading position in cassava, that is what led to that factory being established in Uromi. State-of-the-art equipment. I heard the governor talking the other day that the equipments are second-hand or something. That's not true. The equipments there were brand new. That place is 92% completed. But do you know that the equipments, the generator, everything has been locked up? Why? If you complete it, it will be a credit to the Canadian government. It will be a credit to the PDP government. So let us pretend as if it does not exist. But who is being punished? Not Lucky Igbenedion, not PDP. The Edo people. Because that place would have employed some people. Edo resources have been abandoned. Stella Basanjo Hospital. The governor rarely goes there because they say he calls the place a PDP hospital. Brand new equipment that were bought in that place are rotting away, they're not being used. There are some wards in that place that are sealed. Why? It wasn't built by this government. That is not the way to function. That is not the way government should behave. Whether you did it or your predecessors did it, what is important is that it was done for Edo people, and you must utilize it for their benefits. So the situation, like I told you before, is pathetic.
All right, let's look at the economy. The economy of the country is currently nosediving. Certainly, it's also affecting the states and the local government. A classical example is Osun State is immersed in crisis now. They hardly pay salaries. What is the missing link here? Why are state government in this mess? Is it because of their overdependence on federal allocation? And what do you think should be done to get out of these woods?
Well, there's no doubt that because of the sharp fall in oil prices, the allocation to many states have dwindled. But you must also know that in life, there are ups and downs. If you read the Bible, the dream of Joseph when he was in Egypt, the king had a dream and he couldn't interpret it, and Joseph was called in and interpreted it. He said you would have 7 years of plenty and you would have 7 years of famine. But the solution, save for the years of famine. Edo State, we have had 7 years of plenty. Those 7 years would have laid the foundation for the 7 years of famine. Unfortunately, we had a very reckless Pharaoh who did not consult, who does not even dream, who has no vision. So the possibility of a Joseph coming to advise him on what to do concerning the time of famine was not possible. If we had done proper investments that are still coming in now, if only there is prudence, if only we can avoid fancy projects and focus on the real priorities that can develop our state, secure our environment, and empower our people. If only we can be honest about costing. A project that is 1 million should not be costed for 100 million. The level of costing in this state is criminal. If only we can have all these things, you will find out that we will be able to manage. And of course, this was a government that just focused on wet consumption without looking at wet creation. Agriculture was abandoned. The solid minerals we have in this state is being exploited by foreigners. Apart from the damage they are doing to our environment, how does that help our own internal resources? It does not. The level of stealing that is going on even in our IGR, if you know the amount that market women drivers pay on a daily basis. If you put it down, Edo will be one of the richest states in the country. But this money does not go into state coffers. Monies that should come to local governments have been taken away from them. And that is why you see the poverty at the local government level. If the local government level is viable, it takes burden away from the state. At least they will be able to do side roads. They will be able to do decent markets. They will be able to handle environmental sanitation. But the local governments have been so strangulated that they cannot do anything. And so that puts more pressure. And then the state government is so reckless in their expenditure pattern that no matter what comes in, it's just a drop. So we need to be a bit more prudent. We need to be a bit more visionary. We need to be a bit more innovative. There's so much we can do to attract resources, to attract businesses. Our revenue can go up if businesses come to this state. Those that can pay good taxes are not the poor men in the street. It's businesses, which is absent in our state. The IGRO has stagnated. And it was clear that it will happen. Because businesses were not there. The ones that were there have been driven away by the hostility in the environment. So, if government wants to get more money, then they need to put on their thinking cap. The environment has to be opened up. Let it become a bit more friendly. There are areas that government has left that they must begin to look into. Oil and gas. There are opportunities there. Opportunities in solid minerals. Opportunities in agriculture. Opportunities in tourism. Nollywood, the southeast, they have taken it over completely. But this is a state where you have the Lancelot Imaswen, the Bediokao, the Dr. Pedro Baseki. These are talented film directors. At a time like this, government should say, look, it appears so much money is coming in from entertainment. A lot of Nigerians are watching Nigerian films. Can we not invest in it? Can we not partner with these people and begin to make some money from it? A lot of the money that was used to fund the free education policy of Ali came from Bendeburi. Not from money from Abuja. That's why I say this government is not thinking. This government is not investing.
All right. We got a tweet from Ray Parr Twitter handle. Ofochi Benjamin tweeted. He must have been listening on a radio wave. And it says, with the fall in the federal allocation, will you subscribe to taxation?
You see, taxation is not it. People are already down. What do you want to tax? You want to kill them? It's not taxation. This is the time to create an environment that will bring up their businesses. Of course, taxation is important. But tell me, if your business is bankrupt, how do you pay tax? If you have no job, how do you pay tax? A man pays tax because he's earning money. You don't pay tax simply because you are alive abroad. Government supports people who cannot support themselves. They will not tell you you must pay tax. So it's not an issue of more taxes. What is important now is the oil price have come down. How do we survive? But again, the question is, were we not surviving when there was no oil? Were we not surviving? I remember the Uronigbe rubber plantation. If you know the potential in that place, you'll be amazed. That is a factory that is capable of employing as many as 3,000 people. Not to talk about the spillover effects. It's been abandoned. It's been abandoned. Bendel Brewery. Do you know how much we can make if that place is functional? Do you know how much we can make?
But I think there's a litigation over Bendel Brewery. So,
Even if there is litigation, is it not the duty of government to step in and resolve the issues? Is it not the duty of government? If government is not interested, then the case can drag on forever. A case you are really interested in, will you not step in? Church Gate is laying claim to a factory they never paid for. When the factory was booming, they were able to take millions away abroad. And we finally said, no, we must take it back. And we must give Lucky Benedict credit for bringing back that factory to Edo State, because they had given it to Church Gate. And Church Gate had practically, stripped the place bare. It took a Lucky Benedict to say, no, you can't do this. You can't come to Nigeria and destroy our assets. Those who gave it to you thought you were going to add value. They didn't know that all your plan was finish the money in the place and they begin to carry the equipment away. So they had to stop them. So if they are in court, can we not call them and say, what are you talking about? Did you pay? We have security agencies. Have we asked them to say, please ask them, where is the money they paid for this? If they didn't pay, then that means it was criminal to have taken this place. Has anybody reported them?
all right, because of time, let us look at sports. Bendel, by extension Edo, was up there in the sports. Up Bendel and what have you. What is it that is happening to sports now?
I'm happy you used the word was. If I had used it, maybe you would have accused me of being partisan. But to quote your word, Bendel Edo used to be known for sports. Was. Today, the story is different. And again, it's very simple. The government of the day, they are not interested. They are not interested. How many times have you seen the governor or top officials of the government going to watch a football match at the stadium? Do you know what it means for the governor to sit down and watch insurance playing? A lot of those who want to see, who have no access to it, who want to also go there. So before you know it, you are bringing back interest in the game. The stadium is empty. The footballers are not paid. The coaches are not paid. The facilities are in shambles. How do you think we can excel in sports? So sports again is not one of the priorities of this government. In a state that was renowned for sports. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, what really is the priority? Red roof is the priority of Edo State. Red roof, the color of a roof is the priority. What is the priority? Sports is not there.
But I want to let you know that still in sport, we had a Okpekpe race which made Edo come into the international glare. At least annually for the past 3 years or thereabout now, Edo has been featuring in the annals of long distance race. So when you say sports is not there, the fact that maybe football is suffering, but another aspect of sports is growing internationally. It has become highly prized race. So are you saying, I don't know what you want to say about that.
I appreciate your attempt to moderate and be objective, but I'm happy you realize that football is suffering. Basketball is suffering. Swimming is suffering. Yes, Okpekpe race, and I applauded my friend Mikey Tamago, who initiated that race. It's good, but it will surprise you to note that the local runners in that race were not paid for participating. I went to the stadium recently just to look around, and I saw a young lady, and And she came to me and she was crying. I said, what is the problem? She said, sir, please, there's something I want to report to you. What do you want to report? He said, I am a long distance runner. We participated in the Okpekpe race. In fact, I won among the local runners. But sir, we were not paid. I said, how will you not be paid? I know that a lot of money was budgeted. He said they told us that the race was not meant for local people. And I wept. And I wept. So the Okpekpe race you are talking about is good. But I want you to know that it's not meant for Edo people. It's not meant for local people. Just like so many other things are not meant for local people. So we have a government who does not like their local people. They have a disdain for local people. So the Okpekpe race is good, but it's meant for people from East Africa and some other places. But we are looking for something that will benefit our local people. We thank them, but we also want things that will benefit our local people.
All right, before we round up the program, the last word.
Well, I want to appreciate you and appreciate our people who have suffered so much and have not gotten what they expected from having an elected government. But I want to encourage them not to give up and not to lose hope. I believe in some few months from now, we'll have the opportunity to elect another person as governor of the state. I think our people should ponder on this opportunity and ensure that whoever they elect this time must not be done on sentiments. They must vote wisely. They should not allow themselves to be swayed by propaganda or deceit. He that wears the shoe knows where it pinches. Edo people are dying. And for me, continuity has terrible implications for Edo people. Continuity will mean multiple taxation. Continuity will mean unemployment. Continuity will mean no sports. Continuity will mean no industry. Continuity will mean the death of Edo State. So, like was done at the federal, Edo State desperately needs change. And I believe by July, hopefully, of this year, our people will vote for change.
It's all right. Thank you for being our guest. That's the much we'll be able to take on our focal point for today. But be rest assured that we have been able to kickstart the race now. We will help the various political parties to search for their candidate amongst their aspirants, be it PDP, APC, name the parties. Whosoever shows interest in the Osadebi Avenue seat, we will put a searchlight to find out and bring them before you. I said it last week that more than 70% of voters are not card-carrying members of any political party. And this program will help to assist the various political parties to get their candidacies right, so that the choice will be clear to the people. Until we come your way next week, I remain Adelego Aladinika. Thank you for staying there with us on both AIT and Ray Power. And also thanking our guest for the day, Pastor Ize-Iyamu.
Thank you.
It's been nice talking with you.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
I hope when next we invite you, you'll be around.
Certainly. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all we'll be able to take today. Next week is another date. Stay blessed in the hands of God. Good day.